I am Father Mike Driscoll, a priest of the Diocese of Peoria, Illinois, presenting a series of videos on Catholic Demonology. Video 8. Instructions for the Exorcist. The rite of exorcism was first promulgated, published for use in the Church, by Pope Paul V in 1614. Although there is a new rite that was promulgated in 1999, exorcists generally don't use it. Therefore, we will examine the 1614 rite. The rite of exorcism has three parts. First, the instructions. Second, the exorcism of one possessed by a demon. And third, the exorcism of Satan and the fallen angels. The instructions are just that, instructions for the exorcist on how to conduct the ritual. The second part is what we usually think of when we hear the word exorcism. It is used to drive the demons out of a possessed person. The purpose of the third part is to drive the demons from a particular place. This video is on the first part, the instructions. Part 1. Signs of demon possession. The rite states that the exorcist should not believe too readily that an individual is possessed, but should distinguish demon possession from mental disorders by three signs. The first sign is the ability to speak with some facility in a strange language, or to understand it when spoken by another. The language may be ancient or modern, but it must be real. Unintelligible babbling does not qualify. They must have facility, meaning more than a few phrases. The exorcist may need to investigate to ensure that the person truly does not know the language they are speaking. For example, if they speak in Latin, he should find out if they actually learned some Latin earlier in life. The second sign is the faculty of divulging distant and hidden events. Though demons do not know the future as God does, they know more than human beings and may appear to know the future. For example, a demon may know that the exorcist's car has a problem and thereby be able to predict that it is going to break down. The demon may also be able to tell the exorcist things about his past that the possessed individual could not know on his own. The third sign is the display of powers beyond the subject's age and natural condition. This refers to physical powers, such as the possessed person showing unnatural strength or levitating into the air. The exorcist should not be too quick to presume that abnormal strength indicates demon possession, since people who are not in their right minds or are intoxicated on drugs or alcohol may demonstrate unusual strength when they do not care about hurting themselves or others. Included in this sign are acute pain, swelling, or other unnatural disturbance of the person's body. If this occurs, the exorcist makes the sign of the cross over that part of the body and sprinkles it with holy water. Objects moving of their own accord and inexplicable noises or visual effects in the vicinity of the person may also be considered a display of unnatural powers that indicate demon possession. After enumerating the three signs, the rite states that the exorcist may take into account various other indications which, when taken together as a whole, build up the evidence. An additional indication of demon possession that is mentioned in the rite is a negative reaction to the sacred. For example, the possessed person blaspheming when the Our Father or Hail Mary is prayed, or crying out when sprinkled with holy water. But this sign alone is not enough, since a person who wrongly believes himself to be possessed by demons may react the same way. Since other indications are not specified, exorcists have some latitude in deciding what constitutes a sign of possession. Some exorcists may attribute other problems to demonic attack, such as illness, financial difficulties, and relationship struggles. But other exorcists do not take these into account, since they may be unrelated to an extraordinary demonic attack. In practice, bishops want the exorcist to consult with physicians and psychologists to help make the determination. A line in the instructions implies this. It states that the exorcist should guard against giving or recommending any medicine to the patient, but should leave this care to physicians. Part 2. Logistics of the exorcism. The only person who is to perform the rite of exorcism is a priest, appointed by the bishop of the location where it takes place. The priest should be distinguished for his piety, prudence, humility, and moral qualities. He should be of mature years, though no age is specified. He should also have studied a great deal the subjects of demonology, possession, and exorcism. The exorcist should go to confession and offer Mass on the day of the exorcism, if at all possible. The exorcist is reminded of the words of Christ, that is, that some demons can only be driven out by prayer and fasting. Therefore, he should take time to pray, and he should fast in preparation for the exorcism, and he should ask others, such as a convent of nuns, to pray and fast for the demons to be driven out. The instructions indicate that the ideal is to perform the exorcism in a sacred place that is also private, in order to avoid attracting attention. This might be a church that will not have people visiting, or the chapel of a monastery, convent, or rectory. If that is not possible or practical, the exorcism may take place in the home of the possessed person, or their relative or friend, so long as it is private. The exorcist vests in cassock, surplice, and violet stole. The rite says nothing about recordings, but exorcists, as a rule, do not make video recordings because of the danger of them being publicized. Some exorcists make audio recordings for the purpose of later review and study. The rite of exorcism tells the exorcist that he may persist for several hours or more at a time if he believes he is making progress. Some exorcists end each session after an hour or two. Exorcists typically need anywhere from 3 or 4 sessions up to 10 or 12. Some say they have taken dozens of sessions and have still not succeeded. In these cases, it must be asked if the exorcist is mistaken and the person actually mentally ill rather than demon-possessed. The rite indicates that there should be some assistants, but only a few, to intercede, that is, to pray during the exorcism. They may also help to restrain the possessed person if he becomes physically aggressive, which happens on some occasions. They should never speak to the possessed person or to the possessing spirits. While performing the exorcism over a woman, the exorcist should have women assisting him, preferably her relatives. Part 3. Questions and Deceptions. The rite cautions the exorcist not to fall into needless discussion with demons, nor to let his curiosity lead him to ask irrelevant questions. The possessing demons may offer to give him hidden information or tell him about future events, but he is to ignore this and to command them to speak only in response to his questions. For example, one exorcist stated that the devil said to him, quote, "I was standing at the cross. I was standing at Bethlehem. I was standing in Nazi Germany. I was there. What do you want to know?" End quote. The instructions tell the exorcist not to be fooled if the devil claims to be a good angel, a saint, or some other deceased person. However, the instructions tell the exorcist to ask the following questions: the number of demons, their names, how and when they entered the person. It adds that similar questions may be asked. The rite also tells the exorcist to command the demons to tell when they will leave and what will be the sign that they have departed. The demons will, of course, lie about all these matters, so the exorcist must persist until he is certain that the demons have been driven out. This is typically shown by a dramatic end to the signs of possession, followed by prolonged peacefulness of the possessed person. The instructions warn the exorcist that, quote, "The arts and frauds of the evil one for deceiving a man are innumerable. For this reason, the exorcist must be on his guard not to fall into this trap." End quote. Such deceptions include convincing the person he is actually not possessed, giving deceptive answers to questions, pretending to have been expelled by leaving the person in peace for a period of time. The instructions conclude with this warning, quote, "After the possessed one has been freed, let him be admonished to guard himself carefully against falling into sin, so as to afford no opportunity to the evil spirit of returning, lest the last state of that man become worse than the former." End quote. Serious sins weaken our relationship with God, and those who are knowingly determined to indulge in such sins are building a relationship with evil. This is especially dangerous for those who have been victims of possession. Jesus warned that if they open themselves to demons a second time, the results are even worse than the first. Summary. Exorcism is done by a priest appointed by the bishop. The exorcism is performed in a private place, whether at church or home, with a few people present to pray. 3 signs of demon possession are facility in a strange language, knowledge of distant or hidden events, and strength or other occurrence outside the laws of nature. Reactions such as screaming when sprinkled with holy water may occur, but in itself do not prove possession. The exorcist is not to converse with demons, but to ask relevant questions, such as their number and names. A prolonged period of peace indicates the exorcism is done.